Hey guys, we are back. Me and Mike have a great guest today. He's the legendary Australian Italian comedian. Please welcome Joe Avati. Joe, how's it going, man?
Good, mate. Where's my round of applause? Hey!
Everybody
Yeah,
get
let's
your
go.
out. Come on.
Yeah, you're probably used to that, huh?
How are
Hey,
you, Joe?
Mike. Good. I'm good. So the last time I spoke to Mike, I was doing a show in Chicago. It was in January last year. So we
Hmm.
do this interview. So he interviews me backstage. Was it before I went on stage or before? I think it was before, right? It was
Yeah, I
before
think
I went on
I think it
stage.
was before, yeah. Because I remember
Yeah.
feeling bad. I was like, I hope you don't want to rehearse a little bit, but
I don't know, mate.
yeah,
If you know what I do on stage, we can talk about it later. I'm
yeah,
usually sleeping before I go on stage. A lot of people have no idea. They go, you get nervous? No, mate, I sleep. I sleep. Sometimes I have to get my tour manager wakes me up and goes, come on, you've got to go on in 5 minutes. Right
yeah,
now, because I've got no hair, I don't have to do my hair. But back in the day, I had to gel my hair, so it was 15 minutes. But yeah. So anyway, it was before the show. We do a 20-minute interview, and then he goes, I forgot to turn it on, or something like that.
You gotta
yeah,
be
yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta be joking.
No,
Forgot
so
to turn the microphone on.
no, so yeah, I gave my dad the phone to record it, and he thought he was recording the whole time. And after I look at the footage, and I'm like, there's literally no recording. And you know what's funny too? He hit me like last week. He said he did the same mistake, like literally a week ago. It happened again, so it was kind of funny. But
Funny.
I don't know. You
Yeah,
know what it is? Like, I feel like normally when I record, I watch through the screen, like what I'm
yeah,
recording. I feel like he
yeah,
records and then he just looks in person at what's going on,
yeah,
which I mean, you're kind of more in the moment that way, but then also
yeah.
that's the disadvantages you may check and you
But
might not be
that's
recording.
the old school. That's the old school dads, right? You know, like my
Yeah.
dad, because of lockdown and everything. So they live in Sydney. I live in Melbourne, and I've got a baby here, and so they want to speak to him. So my dad's never done FaceTime. So I ring him up on FaceTime, and all I could, he answers it, and all I could see is his ear, right?
Yeah.
Because he thinks that he's just doing a normal phone call, but there's a big hairy Italian ear. That's all I could see in the, in the FaceTime. Anyway,
Well,
yeah,
Joe, it's crazy because you have a big fan base in Toronto here too, and my parents are like
yeah.
real big fans of you. And I actually wanted to show this to the audience to see. Look what my parents had. They had this a while ago.
Yeah, that was
Classic.
re- that was released in 2011, I think that one.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's even signed in the. I think you signed it as well here too. Look at
oh wow, so it's worth more.
that. I'm gonna go sell it on eBay today. Go, yeah, guys, I got that legit
Yeah,
one signed. Come
yeah.
on. Yeah, it's awesome though.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
watched it myself too. It was really funny. You're an
Oh,
amazing comedian.
cool. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
man.
nice of you, Adam.
So Joe, how
No
many
problem.
countries? So you just gone to Australia, Canada, and United States, or have you ever gone to other
Now I
countries
tour
too?
all over the world, so I do mainly Canada, America, Australia, England, and now my fan base has expanded into Belgium, South Africa, Ireland, Scotland as well. So right now I should have been touring all these countries, but obviously we can't we
Yeah.
can't work. So it's really interesting because at first I started in Australia, and then it blew up in America and Canada, and then England at the same time. And in fact, Adam, the next DVD after that one was the greatest hits, and on there was a tour because it's my 25th anniversary. So I've been doing this for 25 years. So we're
Nice.
putting together a tour, a world tour
Mm.
video, and it
Oh
shows
wow.
me traveling all the countries. And I was having a look at it, and I was going, "Wow, I couldn't believe I did all that." And so you see me, on traveling around the world in different places,
Yeah.
and yes, it was. I've had a really good run. I'm very lucky. I've had an amazing time, and I'm very lucky that I'm here. I am 25 years later, and I've got a very loyal fan base. And not only that, it's actually growing. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of weird because I go through phases where I always say, okay, this is going to be the last tour. Oh, it's going to die out, and then I just get more sort of
You get
famous, if you like, in
yeah,
different
you get a
paths. And
jump.
it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it spreads out because it's comedy. I think people what they do is they see something. It's like when you see a meme, you send it to your friends. You go, "Oh, look at this funny meme I saw."
yeah,
Right? Think
yeah,
about comedians as well. They see a funny, like I see your things on Instagram all the time, and they're funny, and
yeah,
and I'll share them with my friends, and then that friend will share it with someone else. So
Yeah.
that's, I guess, what happens, right? And people are all
Yeah.
around the world. So then that's how they grow the fan base. Yeah.
Well, when I started, there was no social media. Okay. So I became famous through Napstar. I don't know if you boys know. You guys, how old are you boys?
I'm 22.
I'm
But
27.
I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
never used it, but
Napstar,
familiar too.
yeah, Napstar was a file sharing program around about 1999, 2000. So one of my clips got onto Napstar in about the year 2000, halfway through 2000, and it just exploded all over the world. Then the next sort of generation of comedians like Russell Peters, he then blew up. So Russell used to come to my shows because the support actor, the guy who used to open up for me, was a friend of Russell's. So Russell used to come. Russell wasn't famous then, and it's funny because you live in Maple, right, Adam? So Russell and I had a meeting in Maple about just comedy stuff, because at the time he was really big in South Africa. But then when YouTube came along, that's when Russell then became sort of really big. Yeah. And then now, and he's a great, fantastic comedian, right, Russell. I'm not sure if you've seen him live. You've got to catch him. And then now there's a whole lot of other people who have made it because of, they do video clips. They do these sort of clips, videos online, which is easier. You couldn't do that when I was starting out. You have to do stand-up. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these people don't do stand-up, or they don't do stand-up well, but they do their videos really well. And that's launched them, but along the way, then I jumped onto YouTube, and YouTube brought me at a different audience. Now I'm onto social media, and that's grown me to, it's really interesting how I got a lot of people who still today go, oh man, I didn't even know you existed, which is really, like, some people would get affected by, like, ego. I'm like, no man, that's so cool. Yeah. So cool. The downside of it is, there's a comedian, which I'm sure you guys know, called Sebastian Maniscalco in America, who's a great comedian, fantastic comedian.
He's from my town too, Chicago. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And as you guys know, I've been doing this for 25 years. Okay. And he's become famous in the last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we've got similar routines. And I sometimes cop abuse from people going, you just copying Sebastian.
No.
I go, bro, I was probably the first guy to do this kind of comedy, man, around the world.
Yeah, you've been around the longest probably out of all these. Yeah.
Giuseppe, you guys know Giuseppe, the MC. He likes to call me the astronaut. He did an interview once, and he goes, oh, Joe, what do you think of Joe Avati? He goes, oh, he's the astronaut. And I go, bro, why do you call me the astronaut? He goes, you're the first man on the moon.
That's good. That's clever. I like that.
Awesome, you're the one who started all this. And then there's all these other guys, which is pretty nice. It's nice of him, and it's great. It's great. It's good to see all these other acts coming along and doing really well. It's fantastic. Yeah. Some of them are a bit hacky. They're, I always get people saying, "Oh, someone's coming." A lot of these guys, they get my stand-up material and make it into videos.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's so many comedians out there. I think it's kind of hard to, like. I think there's there's probably, because now with social media, like you mentioned, people doing skits and trying to do all these performances online and stuff. Yeah. There's probably millions and millions of people trying to get into that. And I'm sure they take stuff from every other like famous comedian out there too. Right? Anybody at that. Yeah. But it's just interesting how you say you've been doing it for 25 years now, which first off, congratulations, like for your 25th year anniversary. Congrats.
Thank you guys.
That's awesome. And I want to ask you, because me and Mike are really curious too, like, throughout all this time, doing it for 25 years, since comedy's changing over time, like, how have you been able to adapt to all the changes and still remain relevant and still remain famous in that matter? Yeah,
which is an interesting point, because I'll talk to you about it in a second. The thing that I'm thinking about, but how do I remain relevant? So I first started doing jokes about nonno and nonna, okay? And I first started doing jokes in half English. Well, I actually started doing stand-up in English, and then I found a gap in the market. No one was really doing comedy in English and Italian at the same time. So English delivery, Italian punchline, right? Yeah. And I've got a lot of fans who want to see that material, but because I've got a lot of non-Italian fans now who on my Facebook and Instagram, I can't put those routines onto my Instagram page because there's going to be a lot of people saying, bro, I can't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I've opened up a new Instagram. It's called Joe Avati Italian, just for my Italian fans now. Right? And I only opened it last 2 weeks ago, so it's just growing, you know.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
And so I started doing that. Then I started talking about my mum and my dad. Then I started incorporating technology and how the nonni, you know, I bought my nonno a mobile phone, cell phone, you call it a cell phone. You know, he used up all the memory in 2 days. I had a look and he had 347 photos of his ear, right? and you know, those kind of sort of jokes. Then I become a father, you know, so I've got a daughter. So I started doing dad jokes about becoming a dad. And then also how my parents now have become nonni. So now I talk about, so I started off talking about my parents, now about being a dad. Now I talk about my parents.
The evolution of it,
like the shit that my dad says to my daughter and to my son, he's never, ever said to me, right? like he'll say to my daughter, I miss you. Right? What did he just say? I miss you. The only time my dad ever said I miss you is when he went to whack me and I ducked. Right?
I mean,
the only time.
I know. Awesome. I know exactly what you mean though, because my parents just became grandparents in May. They had their first granddaughter, and they're acting so different now. Like it's like they changed. For example, like before my niece was born, they were acting like, you know, like the regular parents, like, you know, the Italian moms, you know, they always overcook for people and stuff like that. Now it's like, ever since my brother had the girl, it's always like, oh, you guys gotta come over for dinner now. I'm gonna make a nice big meal. And she makes a big thing now. It's like, oh, you better take leftovers, all these leftovers. And it's like, you know, you never did this. You didn't do this last year. All of a sudden, what happened? Just because it's like a light switch.
They'll walk in. They won't even say hello to you anymore. Straight to the kid.
Yeah.
Straight to, like, you know, when they come to my son, it's just amazing. So you know, that's how. And what I was going to say before was, I mean, look, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm nice to everybody. I know the tricks that people use. It's amazing, you know. It's you know, I invented this game. I've been doing this 25 years. You know, people, they like you, they like your stuff on Instagram, and then when they get more famous or they get more followers, then they stop liking you and they just start liking other people who are more famous.
I know that's like
people play all these games. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And generally I'm pretty nice with them because, look, some of these people are my friends, right? But they just think that I don't know what they're doing, you know, or they'll get an image that I've used years ago, and then they'll use it for something that they've done, or they'll do something similar to my, you know. It's like, bro, man, I know exactly what you're doing. You know, and for the most part, these people are nice.
Yeah.
You know, off stage, they're nice people. They're just professionally, they can be scumbags. And, you know, but what are you going to do? You got to be nice to everyone. I like to get along with everybody. But what I say is, you know, some of these people have just been around for the last few years. I'm like, man, some people get a big head because they do things for a couple of years online. Come and see me in 25 years, and if you're still around and you're still selling out all over the world.
Yeah. No, that's like one of the biggest things we wanted to talk to you about is just 25 years, a long time. I can't name one comedian I know that's been doing it for as long as you. So, you know, and that's kind of what you're getting at too. Like, there's always someone who wants to take your place. You know what I mean? So how do you do it for that long and still like keep growing and keep, you know what I mean? 25 years of growing is insane. Like, not a lot of people could do that. You know, like you said, someone might say, all right, you hit a certain amount of followers, now we're on to the next guy or whatever. But you always maintained a steady, you know.
Well, not even that. Sorry to add on to what Mike's saying as well, because, you know, comedy, me and Mike are speaking to other comedians as well, and I've spoken to comedians too, and they're always saying how I was talking to one guy actually who's really kind of falling out now. He's only doing it for a couple of years, and I'm not gonna say his name just because, you know,
no. I'm not into mentioning names. We don't have to mention anybody's name.
Yeah. But you understand, like you understand the gist of it, right? Yeah. So basically, he was saying like how comedy, like the industry, is very you know, you're hot one day and then you're out the next type of thing. Because again, like, you know, it's even with, for example, like let's say I watch a skit. I'll watch a skit on Instagram, for example, of somebody.
Yeah.
It'll be funny that day, but the next day it's not funny anymore. And then it's like you start doing the same thing over and over, and then you go, okay, I'm tired of this guy. So I guess that's what Mike's trying to say too. Is just like, how do you just continue to keep growing?
Well, you've just got to write new. I mean, I've got 7 comedy specials. I've got 5 CDs of material. You've just got to. It's really interesting with me though that normally when you go to see a comedian, when you go to see another show, you don't want to see the same material. But I've got all these fans that if I don't do the classic material, they kind of get upset. So I still have to do. And I'm sometimes performing routines that I've been performing for 15 years. Okay. And people are laughing like they've never heard it before, which is fascinates me. It just fascinates me. Yeah. How do you keep it? You got to keep it fresh. You got to be. So I produce all my shows. So I make sure that I have great opening acts, because sometimes comedians use really bad opening acts because it makes them look better. I like to use really good acts, and I like to get new acts, young acts, and put them on and give them a go. So a few years ago, I don't know if you guys have interviewed Guido Grasso. I'm not sure if you've interviewed him. He's funny, really funny guy. I know you
I met him in Chicago, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he opened up for me there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Giuseppe the MC. So he was, becoming popular as well. So we used him and gave him a go. I like to give new people a go, and as a result, we then become a big family. Like when I toured Toronto, there's 15 people touring. There's 4 people selling merchandise. I got my private security. I got my manager. Wow. There's publicists. Just people helping, photography. It's a big thing because you're doing theaters of thousands of people. So it's a big operation. And these people have been with me since 2001 when I first went over there. So you've got to be fresh. You've got to be a good performer. That's the thing. You've got to get great support acts because you want them to say in the intermission, geez, that guy that opened up for Joe was fantastic. How is Joe going to beat that?
Yeah.
And then I come on and just go, bang, and just take it to the next level. But I've had 25 years. Look, if you look at my first specials where I was selling out 2,000-3,000 people a night, I'm 47 now, okay? Mm-hmm. I started comedy when I was 21. So I've been doing it more than 25 years, but because of COVID, we're celebrating it next year. So when I was selling out around the world in huge stadiums, I look back because I've just been looking at the footage now. I think I was 27 years old. What the fuck did I know? But I was doing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people a night at 27 years old. What did I know at 27? And it was good then. Like people thought it was amazing then. And I look back and I go, oh, geez, that was shit.
Right? Yeah. What would you tell yourself now that you've been doing it so long? What would you tell yourself if you could, like when you were first starting out? Anything?
Yeah. What would I tell myself is to slow down, enjoy the crowd, enjoy the moment, chat more. And I used to have, like when I used to come on stage, I used to do this joke and then I had that joke and then I had that joke and I went to that joke and then that joke. And so it was all set out. And then I went to watch Bruce Springsteen and he had no set list. And about 7-8 years ago, I threw out my set list. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to pretty much know how I'm going to start. I know how I'm going to finish. Mm-hmm. But where the show goes in between, I've got no idea. And I'm on stage for 90 minutes straight. So it's fun for me. It's fun.
Yeah, I kind of caught that about you when you were in Chicago before you went on. Like you weren't worried at all, man. Like you said, you wouldn't sit down for an interview, and I kind of felt bad. I feel like I'm kind of used to people like, and I've seen Anthony Rodia go up to, and he's pretty like natural at everything now. But I don't know. I feel like for a lot of people, they like are in the zone. They got to really think in their head, like I got to rehearse, like you know what I mean. They got to mentally prepare. Yeah. And with you, man, you just got up there like you don't even probably know what you're gonna say. You just have so many routines and you could pull from, and you're just ready.
Well, that's right. Cool. Yeah. And there's a friend of mine that I toured with who put a collection together of pictures of me just before I'm about to go on stage, and I'm sleeping under tables. I'm sleeping with a tablecloth on top of me. So there's all the collection of me sleeping. I sleep a lot before I go on stage, right? Just sort of chilled. But yeah, you know, look, there's a lot to it. It's a really interesting art form. I love it. You know, it's my job. It's given me, you know, I've done very well out of it over the years. It's given me experiences that I never would have had I stuck to my previous job, which was food. I'm a scientist. I'm a food scientist by profession, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it would have been very different to that.
Yeah, but even like, you know, going back to like the performing on stage and everything, because you mentioned how sometimes when you're, you know, doing your act in the middle of it, like at the beginning and end, you know how to plan, but in the beginning it can go with different routes, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I mean, first I'll just say this too. When me and Mike do interviews, sometimes it just like we'll have some stuff planned out, but sometimes like it depends how the conversation goes. If it's going so well, it'll just take a different route, and it's like
Absolutely.
I think you have to ride with that, because that's what makes it for the most genuine and authentic presentation. And people look at, they recognize that. Sometimes people, when you if you do something in front of people, they can notice if you're like, oh God, this is so planned, or this doesn't seem authentic, like, you know. But if you're doing it where it's like, okay, you're going with the flow, it's kind of within you in a way, and that's kind of cool. Were you always like this as a kid, even growing up? Like, did you always have this kind of, you know?
As a kid, one thing that a lot of people don't know is I was extremely shy, very, very shy. So the guy that you see, and I still am very shy inherently, but the guy that you see on stage is an actor, you know, like.
That's crazy.
Sometimes
I'm shy too. If you told me I had to get on stage in front of 1,000 people, I don't know, I would never be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The profession you picked for being shy is crazy, man.
Yeah, I know, but it was an, you know, I wanted to be a rock star. You know, I wanted to be George Michael.
So did I. I wanted to be a rock star too, man. Don't worry.
Yeah. And then my dad said, "No, a Calabria non ci sono rock stars. No, you can't."
Cugini di campagna. The next cugini di campagna. Okay?
But I started playing. In fact, where I am right now, this is my in my house. In fact, if anyone's watching who wants to see my house has got its own Instagram page, right? Which is just called Joe Avati Home, right?
Okay.
And you can see, I'll show you. Hang on a minute. Right.
Yeah.
So where I am, so this is I don't know if you can see, it's my piano, right?
Nice.
So I do a lot of songwriting and stuff like that, which a lot of people don't know. So this is the kind of, I'll do a lot of reading. It's my bookshelf.
Yeah, it's a cool room.
So I don't know if you can see over there. Can you see over there? There's a manuscript. I don't know.
Yeah,
can you see on the wall there? Yeah, I wrote that when I was 16 years old. Like, that's and I collect a lot of art. See, I got a lot of art on the walls.
Oh, that's pretty sick. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the rabbits. Yeah.
It's like a museum. It's like a nice museum you got.
Yeah, so I collect a lot of art from around the world, you know. So, yeah, I wanted to be a rock star, and that wasn't going to happen. Even as and I thought, well, what am I going to do? What can I do to be the front man? I thought, you know what? And when I was at university, I started doing jokes at parties, at university parties. And then I went to the Comedy Store in Sydney. It's like the Comedy Store in LA. And I just started doing stand-up, you know. It was 2006 when I first started. And then within 4 years, I'd become professional. Within 5 years, I was touring Australia. Within 6 or 7 years, I was touring the world. And basically, I've been touring ever since, you know. But you got to keep it fresh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other thing is this, the material, the content of the material that I do. Because I was kind of the first one to really do this material, where you had a lot of these Italians around the world who, they weren't Australian or they weren't Canadian, and they didn't feel American. They didn't feel Italian, because they go to Italy and they go, "Ma tu sei un americano," go back home.
Yeah.
So who were they? They lived in this, you know, they lived in this, like,
it's like,
who am I?
Yeah.
So along comes this Joe Avati guy, and he's got all this material, all about growing up Italian, in half English, half Calabrese, right?
Yeah.
And instantly people felt that they belonged. So they went, wow, that's who I am. This guy is my life. This guy, how did this guy, did he grow up in my house? You know, did he have the same nonna? How?
Yeah.
So when you can give that to people, you make them belong, and they have an affinity to you for a very, very long time. Also, the other thing is my show, and it always has been, is very clean. Okay. So I don't swear. I don't talk about drugs or sex or anything like that. And that's by choice. And so you get the nonni that can come, you get their children that come, and the grandchildren. And it's very rare that you can get an artist where you get the 3 generations all in the same room. It doesn't really happen. A lot of people don't want to bring kids to shows where there's a lot of swearing, or they don't want to bring their nonna, you know. And look, I don't care if people want to swear in their show. That's totally fine. I made that decision a long time ago, and I just don't do it. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough about me. How about you guys? You got any juicy questions for me?
Yeah, well, we just want to know, since I don't know, like, it's been 25 years. Like, what's the craziest like moment you probably had on stage out of the 25 years? Like, there's got to be some crazy stories from doing that many shows.
Yeah, I've had
places.
Yeah, I've had ladies go into labour who come in pregnant, and then they go into labour. I've had people who've had epileptic fits that I didn't know about. I thought they were laughing at a strange part of the show. Like, I'm going, what are you laughing at? It's not even a punchline, mate. What are you laughing at? It wasn't. The guy was having a fit. I've had people so we had this guy. There was 2 brother-in-laws, and they didn't get along. And one of them goes, "We're going to the Joe Avati show. Do you want to come?" And the other brother-in-law goes, nah, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Nah, I'll give it a miss. But meanwhile, he'd already bought tickets for him and other family members. But the show was sold out. So the other brother-in-law went to buy tickets, couldn't buy tickets. Anyway, he found out that his brother-in-law was there with other family members. He rang him up and he goes, "Come outside now. Come outside and we'll scrap it on." Right? You guys know what that means, right? Have a fight, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the intermission. Everyone's gone outside. The manager comes into the room, goes, "Oh my God, someone's called a bomb threat on the whole place." What? A bomb threat. We didn't know what was going on.
Wow.
Anyway, so I have to evacuate everybody. So they evacuate everyone out into the street. The other brother-in-law was riding across the road in the car. When they evacuated everyone out, he saw his brother-in-law. He jumped out of the car, ran up, and just king hit him. So now the manager's come in and goes, "Oh my God, there's someone beating up your audience members."
What the hell?
We didn't. I mean, the guy broke his jaw. He broke his jaw. He got charged for assault, but we didn't know this. I'm thinking,
all for a comedy show. Oh my God!
Someone wants to, like. I've had a tour in Perth. Perth is like where Vancouver is, or LA is to New York, where Vancouver is to. So I had a guy who didn't like what I did. He was a bit nutso, and he put a bomb threat at every single show, right? And then the police caught on, and they caught him. It was just he was the guy he wasn't all there, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow.
What else have I had, mate? I've had.
I mean, what about the labor thing? Like, what happens when someone goes into labor and you're in the middle of a show?
I just see these people leaving. I had a guy who had a fight with his girlfriend, and I hear this. Oh, wow, that's a weird sound. Where is that coming from? And so I do another gag, and then I can hear the same sound, and I'm now sort of figuring out where this is coming from. And all I could see was a shadow of this guy doing this. So he would wait for the punchline where everyone was laughing, they couldn't hear, and he would just hit his girlfriend. They ended up, I could see them then, they went out, and he beat her up really badly. And of course they called the police, and he got caught and everything, which is good. I mean, can you imagine that, going to a comedy show and fighting? It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems like it defeats the purpose of the.
It's supposed to be like it's
supposed to be a fun night. Yeah, exactly. But
there's so many stories.
What do you do, like, when it's? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Does it phase you too much, or you just kind of have
No, no,
to?
no, no. You just gotta,
Yeah, roll with it.
you gotta. See, the thing is, when you're doing stand up, it's not like when you're doing a scripted show where you got to stick to the script, this line, the next line, then and then sometimes you sort of sway off the line, you ad lib a bit. When you're doing this kind of stand up, it's you on stage by yourself. What's more draining it's mentally draining being on stage for 90 minutes because you've got to think of where you're going next, what's coming up next.
Wow.
Oh shit, there's someone moving, or I'm having a chat with this person, but they're not giving me anything. Okay, so I got to move on. I don't really get hecklers, but sometimes someone might yell out something. Someone gets drunk. There's just so many things to know. Plus, then you've got to then realize, okay, where am I going next? Where I'm getting this story, then I'm adding this, and then I'm coming here. Then I got to go back here, and so it's a lot of fun. Best thing I ever did was in 2002. I flew out all my grandparents from Australia to Canada, and they came on tour with me for 2 weeks. We did store signings because back then I had the #1 comedy album in North America back in 2001.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the #1 comedy album for 18 months. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of media coverage. And there was also a lot of store signings. So here's my nonni, and you can see it. I got it all on footage. There's my nonni at a HMV with 500 or 600 people lining up to get their autograph. The news cameras are there. And my nonna coming, because she went from Calabria to Sydney and never went anywhere else. So this is the first and only time she ever left Australia to go anywhere else in the world. Like my nonna can understand, she was in Calabria. She's never been to Rome or Venice or Milan. She was in Calabria. That was it.
That was it.
She didn't see anywhere else. So she went from Calabria onto a ship to Australia. Australia, she might have seen bits and pieces, but then you took her to the other side of the world where her grandson was selling out in front of 3,000-4,000 people. So, but the poor thing, my nonna, like a lot of nonnas of that age, she couldn't write. She was illiterate. Yeah. So there's all these people in Canada who've got my nonna's signature, which is just an X, because the old nonnas, they just write an X.
Yeah.
When they can't write their name, they go write an X. And awesome. So that was probably the best thing I ever did, I would say, and take my nonni, and they all came out on stage.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. That was the best thing I ever did. Yeah.
You know what's also cool too. So I wanted to mention one of my parents' funniest bits that you do is the one about the due patate thing, right? About
due patate, yeah. That was mine,
And that I can relate to so much because trust me, my head is about to explode when every day my parents are like my mom will say too, like, oh, well, they speak to me in English, but still they'll say, go get me 2 of this or whatever. I get it, and they go, why'd you only give me 2 of this for? I asked for. That's what you said. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's right. Due patate. That's what you wanted. Due patate. Due patate. Que voi? Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fun. Yeah. That I can really do so much, and I think that's why why you were able to be also relevant this whole time as well, because again, like you talked about this idea of like people can relate to your stuff, but it feels like a family thing, right? It feels like like either way, no matter what, even if it's like 30, 40 years on the road, people always gonna be like, you know what, whatever Joe's talking about up there and making these jokes, I will always be able to relate to, because all these things are like memories, right? Like even the thing about the due patate thing, right? If I was watching that live, it would just, even if I watched it 10 times, you doing that, it would always be funny, because it's like that happens all the time. It's not just happens once and you laugh. Every day our parents are doing
every time. It always happens. Yeah. And you just reminded me something, Adam, of why people keep coming back. Because let's say there were people that came when I first came to Canada or America in 2001 or 2002 or 2004. Yes. Okay? And then, so I've toured Canada 2001, 2002, 2005, 2008, 2012, 2018. Okay. I've been touring, let's use Canada because it's just easier to remember all the dates. So there are people who come in 2001 and 2002 who don't come for, so let's say I came in 2005. I've heard it. It's all the same shit. I've heard it. Okay. I'm not coming. So they don't come. They then, get married. They have kids. So on the last tour in 2018, so let's say that they came in 2001. Okay. And I'm now 17, 18 years later. In the meantime, they got married, had kids. Their kids who are 15, 16, 17 are saying, hey, mum and dad, Joe Avati's coming. Can we go? Because they've become fans. The kids that weren't even born when their parents come. So now they can't leave their 15 or 13 or 12 or 16-year-olds to go on their own. So the parents now come and bring the kids to see the show. And then the parents go, oh, wow, it's all new material. Oh, this is different. Oh, he's a better act. Of course you're better. You know, you're 17 years of touring constantly. I do 200-300 shows a year.
Yeah,
right?
Wow.
You know what, too, Joe, I was going to say, which is also good that you do that and how the kids come, because me and Mike talk about this all the time too, and even with other Italian guests that we have on, that the Italian culture, it unfortunately, it's kind of slowly dying off sometimes, you know what I mean? Because again, like my parents don't speak to me in Italian. That's already one thing that now see my kids now are going to be less Italian because of that, and it's a cycle. Yeah. But I think what you're doing is also kind of, along with making jokes and relating to people, you're also maintaining these Italian values and also kind of celebrating them too. Like, even though these are jokes and you're kind of, you poke fun at the nonnies and all that stuff. Yeah. In a way, it's all about, like, you're reminding people that, grandparents, they love making food in abundance, because and that's a good thing, even though you joke about it, or even about tomato sauce. Like it's a cultural thing. I think the younger generations need to understand that, because we should pass these on. Mike does that great with his page too. Hardcore Italians is known for like maintaining these Italian values, and I think that's
fantastic. And it's really good that, there's so many of these pages. I mean, you've got the biggest number of followers. I know there's so many of these pages which keep it alive. And that's why, like, so you said, Adam, that your parents don't speak to you in Italian anymore. I think, Mike, when you said you kind of understood the Calabrese, but not, if I spoke full Calabrese, you might not understand it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why my shows these days are pretty much all in English. I will throw in a Calabrese word here or there, or I'll translate. But I get Chinese people coming to my show. I get Indians, Malaysians, Greeks, Lebanese. Awesome. I get a lot of Anglo-Saxons coming to my show, because I also do a lot of stand-up now, which has got nothing to do with being Italian, but majority of it is, okay? But in the middle of it, I'll talk about things that you don't have to be Italian to understand.
Yeah.
Right? And also that's the other thing, my market has grown. So it's not only just, it started with Italians, then it went from Italians, Greeks, Lebanese, right? Then it's gone to the Asians, now the Indians, now the Anglo-Saxons, and it's just growing and growing. So I have to cater for that.
Yeah,
but
you kind of have to.
I'm known for the ethnic stuff, and that's what I have to give my fans.
Yeah, well, that's what I think.
Like I said, it's growing.
Yeah, that's why I think that Italian page you made is pretty cool. I have to check that out. But
I didn't even know about that.
And Joe,
because I haven't really pushed it. So I've only just started. I just said, hey guys, I've got an Italian page. Like 1,500 people went on in the first week to have a look, and so that material that I put on the Italian page is different to what I have on my Instagram page, on my Facebook page, because on the main Instagram page and the Facebook page, there's a lot of non-Italians who. So if I start putting Italian clips on those pages, people are going to unfollow, because they're going to go, I don't get it. So
I gotcha, but I like how you kept it, because I kind of noticed, like, Sebastian Maniscalco, as he's grown, his shows kind of like, because he used to really talk about being Italian more and more, like in the olden days. I feel like now it's more general too, and I feel like a lot of Italians think like he just kind of, you know what I mean, left that. But with you, I mean, you're still incorporating it. You still have a page going. Like, I think that's awesome, because there's definitely like people that love that stuff, including us.
And look at Sebastian. See, Sebastian, he's come along now. He's become popular now in the last 5-7 years, maybe something like that. Yeah. But Sebastian, it's not like he just picked up 7 years ago and started doing stand-up. From what I understand, I don't know too much about him, but I know that he's been doing it for 25 years as well. Okay. But he's only just sort of become famous in the last 5 or 6 years. But that guy has been doing stand-up for a very, very long time. He ain't just, I wake up one day and I start doing stand-up comedy.
I think that's a common misconception that people have, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at all those artists, Justin Bieber, Britney Spears, all those, you have a look at when they were kids. They were champion singers when they were 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
You don't need to wake up and have a voice like that. That doesn't happen. But it's taken Sebastian all that time. See, I was very lucky that I've been doing this for 25 years. I became famous about 20 years ago. Okay. So I started doing the comedy circuit for 4 or 5 years, started getting a little bit of a name, and then bang, and then it took off. Okay. So I've been famous, but I've been doing it for 25 years, but I've been famous 20 of those 25 years. You know, Sebastian's been doing it 25 years, but he's been more popular in the last 7 or 8 years. And his popularity has just gone skyrocketed, you know, and which is a great thing. I actually saw him when he came to Australia. He did 2 shows, and he was a great act. He was a really, really good act.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love to see, like, I love to give people a go, and my motto is this. When I help people out, because I like to help a lot of people out, but unfortunately, sometimes you help people out and they grab what they want from you and then leave. And I'm old school. Okay, you might have gotten more popular, but hey, mate, respect where you come, respect your elders. That's what I grew up with. You know what I mean? There are comedians that I started working with who I used to idolize. Then I took over, and they're still, they became famous later, but I became famous a lot earlier than they did. But they were there first, and I respect them, and I have to give them that respect.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
You know, so my motto is this: I want to see you go to places where I've never been able to go, and I've been to a lot of places. That's what I say to a lot of these young acts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Joe, when you go to all these different places, is it easy to market it and pack the house? Do you just kind of have to advertise? I guess my question is, like, when you put out your tour, do you just advertise the general tour and it's pretty easy for people to pick up? Or do you have to because I know sometimes you post something on Facebook and it doesn't go to everybody, you know, it might go to 10 people out of the 20 people or whatever. So kind of how do you say, like, all right, I want to go to Chicago. Like, let me, how does my fan base know I'm going, you know?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So back in the old days, when I say the old days, 20 years ago. Okay. So in Canada, when I first started, it just went crazy because it was a mass. So basically, I think I'm not sure if I do. Back then I had the record for the fastest selling comedy show ever. So I sold like 7,000 or 8,000 tickets in an hour. Okay. When tickets went on sale back then.
Wow.
And that was posters and word of mouth. Over the years, then we had to start spending more money on radio and newspapers. Okay. And it's the same with, or, you know, like in Chicago, I've got a whole bunch of people in Chicago who would then, you know, go around selling tickets or putting posters up, Franoi, you know, all that kind of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then, but now in the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe in the last 4 years, really, 4 or 5 years, it's all been social media. So we don't spend any money on radio. We don't spend any money in the newspapers. All the money is focused on targeted Facebook, Instagram, you know, and like, you know, there's a, you know, my management, they've got, you know, there's a dedicated social media company that just work on my stuff. And all they do is work on my stuff all the time, producing stuff, using different words, tags, you know, all that kind of thing. Yeah. Geofencing. There's all sorts of things that you can do. And that's pretty much how we do the shows now. Okay. And then, of course, a lot of publicity. Like, I've done hundreds and hundreds of radio interviews, TV interviews, newspaper articles over the years. It's just, you've got to do that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I wasn't sure because I know sometimes it could fall on, like, you know, the theater hall too that, you know, books you. I don't know if, like, they're really responsible in helping promote it, or it's you guys, because I know you're, like, producing them yourself. So that's cool.
Well, sometimes they are, right? So like, sometimes a venue has got an affiliation with a ticketing company, right? Like a Ticket Tech or a Ticketmaster, right, or whatever, and they've got their databases, right? So, you know, there's all these tricks that they use. The venue will let's say that they have an Italian or an Italian singer who comes to a venue. They'll go to that Italian singer's database and I'll advertise my show to them. And then, of course,
it depends.
And Joe, also too, I wanted to also mention something too, because you brought it up earlier, and before I forget, you talked about how, you know, again, you've been in it for so long, 25 years, and at the end of the day, again, like talking about how through this whole conversation, you're able to maintain everything and always keep working hard to propel yourself to get even more famous and more known.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I think it's something very important for people to understand as well, is that sometimes people can look at, let's say you, right? How you got famous kind of quickly, your thing took off. They might say like, ignorant people, they might be like, oh, Joe Avati, he just got lucky. Oh, this came on his lap. But it's not even, I don't look at it like that, because at the end of the day, I don't really believe in luck. I believe that you make your own luck. I believe that like you have to work hard. You have to work hard in things in life, and not even just luck. At the end of the day, you found something that, listen, at the end of the day, Italian, whether it's Italian American, Italian Australian, Italian Canadian comedy, it's been around for so long in a sense where
absolutely,
we miss it every day, but no one's ever taken it like you and made it their own. So my question to you too is that what pushes you and what motivates you to wake up every day and continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah, well, look, I'm very privileged to be able to do what I do. I worked very hard at it. So, okay, if you want to, I know you make your own luck, but I was lucky in terms of the fact that normally, look how hard it took Sebastian. It took him a long time to get where he is now, and now he's really enjoying the fruits of his labor. Took me a very short time to get there, but I've worked for that last 20 years really hard to stay there, right? To stay sort of the top of the mountain. So what motivates me? Look, I like nice things. I've, like everyone else, got their bills to pay, and I got a family, and I've got a young kid and wife, and and I'm very privileged to be able. I mean, look, how cool is it that you can get up? So this is the essence of stand-up comedy, right? You're asking, like the person who's up there in front of that microphone is asking a room full of strangers to have a simultaneous, involuntary reaction to what you say. So think about that. You're asking a room full of 500 or 1,000 or 50 or 3,000 or 10,000. Sometimes I do shows of 10,000 people. You're asking 10,000 people to have exactly the same reaction at exactly the same time. In other words, laughter. Yeah. What a cool job. When you look at it like that, it's pretty cool. And I'm very fortunate that I have that ability to be able to do that, and I don't take that lightly. And I enjoy doing it, and it's a release. It's a release for me. As you can tell, I do a lot of reading. I do a lot. Like I've got my own podcast now, but my podcast is not a funny podcast. Over the 25 years, I've met some really, really interesting people along the way. And so the podcast is called Tell Us Something We Don't Know, a serious chat with a comedian. So I interview scientists, I interview comedians, I interview sports stars, I interview all different people, health and wellness people. Next week, I'm interviewing a friend of mine who's the lead singer of a band called Jet. It was a famous band around the world.
Yeah, I think I know them.
Yeah, absolutely. They had a couple of big songs. Yeah. Cold hard bitch. I'm not a singer. I'm not gonna sing.
Yeah, but
come on, I thought you were a rock star. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah. I wish I was a rock star.
Yeah, but that kind of leads into my last question I had too, is just how you're involved in so many different things. And you said earlier that you're a food scientist. Yeah. And that's pretty interesting. Why don't you give us a little bit more background on that? Like, what does that entail?
Okay, so basically a food scientist is not a chef. A food scientist is the person who, so I was working for ice cream. So, good humor in North America is a good humor, like the Magnum ice cream. I would invent ice creams for good humor. So that's what I was doing. So it's physics,
I see. Okay.
Chemistry, engineering, microbiology, the packaging, anything to do with putting together food that you buy in a supermarket, packaged food.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I did on my undergraduate degree, and then I won a scholarship and I did honors. And while I was doing honors, I was studying. I actually, so this was the name of my thesis: the effects of bromelain, phycin, and papain, which are digestive enzymes, on the on M. semitendinosus meat using a differential scaling colorimeter. That was my thesis. Okay, so I
have no idea.
Yeah, I know.
for the whole
That's what I was
year,
just
that's
thinking.
all I had to
Another
do was
language.
look at meat and how tenderizing enzymes affect the meat, and look at them under a micro. That's all I had to do. So there was a lot of time between experiments, right?
You know what? Hey, if it's up to me, I just eat the food. I don't. I'll just stick to eating it. How about that?
I wish I knew all that stuff. That's got to be like, I'm sure everything you eat now, you just kind of can analyze and know if you're eating healthy or not too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
probably comes in handy.
I just like to eat, man.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I just thought of right now. Like your wife cooks you dinner, for example. She gives you like a nice meal. You look at it. This steak has the enzymes. Thing. Honey, can you make one with less enzymes or more? It's like, you know what? Cook your own damn dinner.
Yeah. Well, bromelain is in pineapple. So if you've got really tough meat, this is a real simple hack, right? If you've got really tough meat and you don't know what to do with it, just get pineapple juice or pineapple and put it on the meat for an hour or so, and it'll tenderize it. It'll breaks down the protein so that when you cook it, then it's not much more tender.
Does it taste like pineapple after that?
Well, you don't put too much, just put drops on it, and just like, don't.
If it was up to me, I'd be drenching it. If it was up to me, that's why.
Don't drench it in pineapple juice, but just sort of sprinkle a bit of pineapple juice like you would probably salt on top of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I don't know, why are we talking about meat on a comedy podcast? I have no idea, but anyway.
Yeah, we just had to ask about the food side, man, because that's funny. I haven't heard too many people ever say they're a food scientist either, so it's pretty unique, man. And just dude, everything you're doing, I mean, and I'm pretty impressed just with like you said, it's a big production what you're doing, man, and just how you've been growing over the years. I think it's awesome. So thanks for just
look. It's just fun. I've done a lot of stage time. I've done a lot of dressing up. Like I've never dressed up as a woman. I've never done that. I've done a lot of dressing up I've played a lot of old Italian guys on stage over the years. In fact, that was one of the first things I did when I started doing stand-up. I did this show called the Dukum Party with a friend of mine in Sydney. And it was two old guys just talking to each other, but getting dressed up like old people, like old Italian men, And then over the years, I've done different Italian characters. I love stand-up. I prefer to do stand-up. I mean, look, stand-up is the essence of comedy. The dressing up, and it's pretty good if you can do it. You're a character actor, and that's a whole different thing, which is a lot of fun too. It's different. A lot of stand-up comedians. Look, I don't mind. People do whatever they want, but a lot of stand-up comedians, the pure form of comedy is stand-up, so they won't. They kind of don't take those people seriously, which, I'm not like that. Like, hey, you got to do whatever you got to do whatever you got to do, and you're making people laugh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and that's a great thing. And there's some really good people doing that now.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I'm saying, man. Just to do what you love and do well, and just keep growing for so many years, like. That's something I'm trying to do too. It's going to be our 10-year anniversary next week, and it's like, wow. It's not easy, man, to keep growing and keep getting in with the trends and keep, you know what I mean? We love what we do, and we're trying to just keep growing too. And I know it's, it's a lot of work and it's tough. Everything's changing every minute. So definitely commend you on that, man. I think it's impressive with the marketing and all that stuff.
But you know what it is, Mike? A lot of us ethnic comedians, we're busy. We grow up with business. So I like to say I'm in the business of comedy. I'm a businessman who does comedy really well. That's the way I kind of look at it, right? Mm-hmm. And so you guys, and a lot of the ethnic comedy acts around the world, they're out there. Look at Giuseppe there. He's a hustler, man. He's a hustler. Yeah. He's out there, getting gigs and figuring out shit and ticketing and all that kind of stuff, because it's just in us. Right? It's just inherently built in us, because people of where we come from, that's the way that they had to work. They had to trade, constantly trading products. They didn't have, a lot of wealth. So, okay, I'll grow potatoes, you grow salad. I'll give you some of my potatoes, you give me some of your salad, and then I'll sell the rest of the potatoes to someone else and I'll make my money like that. It's constant bartering and trading. And so that's why a lot of ethnic comedians do well, because that's what we're born
It's
to do. So you
natural.
guys should be able to do that as well, you know.
Mhm.
And good luck to all the acts that do it. You know what I mean? The only thing is, if you take my stuff, if you take my routines and making videos, it'd be nice if you just gave me a little credit. Say thanks, Joe. You know, we've turned your stand up into.
Hey
really
guys,
popular.
Joe's gonna get that two man. He's gonna get Tom and Larry. He's gonna knock on your door. He's gonna break your leg. Don't steal his stuff.
Yeah, true. Actually, like you said, respect
But
your
you know
elders
what?
kind of thing, and I agree with
Yeah,
that, man.
yeah. A lot of these acts are really good because they keep the ethnic comedy thing alive. You know what I mean? When I first started, it was just me doing it. There was a couple of people in. See, Australia, we're the sort of pioneers of this. We've been doing this for a long time. There was a Greek guy here who did it really well. He's not really known overseas, but you know he's very well known here in Australia. And I kind of took that concept and brought it around the world.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, it was just me doing it with a couple of other people. Now there's so many people doing it, and fantastic, and it's great. I really enjoy. I don't watch a lot of comedy though. That's the only thing. I only watch it if I need to work with someone. I go, okay, I got to work with Giuseppe. What's he like? What does he do? Let me see what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually don't watch stand up hardly at all. I can't. I don't know why, because it's work or why. I just can't.
Yeah, probably. I feel like you got your different things going on. You like to read. You got the music. You got food.
Yeah. I've got this other really exciting project coming up, which I can't say anything right now, but it'll be launching very, very soon, and I will let you guys know. I will send you a copy of what I've done.
I can't wait for that. And Joe, it's been an honor having you on today. It's been, I think, really just insightful just to know everything you're doing, and I think it's really fantastic. So just on behalf of us, thank you so much for coming on, honestly.
Look, guys, there's so much more that I could talk about, and we'll leave it for another episode because there's so much to do with the stand up and the ins and outs of how to keep an audience going for 90 minutes straight. But I really appreciate you having me on, and you know, I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. I'm probably due there, Adam, in I think early next year. I think I'm due back there because I had all these shows booked and sold, and we had to cancel them all because of COVID. So I've got to come back and do them.
Well, I'll be sure to buy a ticket. I'll be sure to buy a ticket there, 100%.
Yeah, Mike, I should be in Chicago, not 2022, 2023.
Okay. Yeah, so a little bit.
Because next year I'm pretty much booked out.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm excited. Definitely excited to see you when you come back too. I'm sure you're gonna have a lot more jokes and stuff like that by then. So appreciate it again, man. And
ciao ragazzi.
Yeah, is there if people want updates about you, where is the best place to follow you? Instagram?
Look, the best place is Facebook is Joe Avati Comedian, and Instagram Joe Avati. Look, if you just type in Joe Avati, man, all the things will come up, you know.
That's perfect. And guys, one last thing before we end off, in honor of October being Italian Heritage Month, Mike, show the sweater where people can buy it.
Oh yeah, it just came out.
Beauty.
What is it? October? Oh, right.
Because October is Italian Heritage Month, so yeah.
Everyone's gonna buy that, and also the nice Italian varsity jacket. Come on, guys.
Oh yeah, nice.
Hardcore Italians, check it out, everybody.
Okay, so this is my shirt. So everyone knows Google, right?
Yes.
This is the Italian version of Google. Vaffan Google.
Damn, that one's awesome. I love that, man. That's a great idea.
That's sick.
Nice.
Love it. Thanks again, Joe.
All right, though, man. Yeah, thank you
guys.
again, Joe. Looking forward to having you back on another episode too.
Thanks,
man.
Mike. Thanks, Adam. Ciao, guys.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ciao. Take it
Ciao.
easy.
Ciao.